Who do you like more, Luke Skywalker or Shrek? Mr. Incredible or Walter White? Batman or Bobby Hill? Today, that's what I'll be ranking. I'll be picking my favorite characters from each group, then ranking all of them. The ones being shown on the screen are the 20 groups I will be ranking this time. I hope you enjoyed today's video, and make sure you stick around for the whole thing. Enough yapping from me, here we go. Lucy in Narnia was very kind and accepting of everyone she met in their journey together. She was always very open about everything happening, and that reminds me of what it was like to be a kid again, willing to just believe in the good of people. So she always will be my favorite in their family because she reminds me of what it's like to be a kid.
Oh, you're hot.
Why, thank you, so are you.
So when I'm talking about Human Torch, I'm mainly talking about the Chris Evans Johnny Storm, but Michael B. Jordan was pretty cool too. I always thought the Too Cool for School Human Torch was awesome as a kid. He just did whatever he wanted and he always got the girl. The rest of the team was a little too serious for my liking, especially at the time when I first saw the movie. So he is my favorite in the Fantastic Four.
Again.
Liam.
That's right, bitch.
But Liam never caused any real issues. He was often dealt a really bad hand in life, like the rest of his siblings, but he never really made it anyone else's problem. He was smart and just a pretty cool kid. He's definitely the one in the family that's the least problematic, and I appreciated that very much. And that's why he's number 18 on this list in the best of the Gallaghers.
To eat. Oh, duck cake!
Bluey's parents are getting put together again for this ranking because they seem to always have so much fun with their daughters, while actually teaching them lessons too. Having a fun parent is such a big deal, especially for children as young as theirs. They're going to remember some of the silly games that they play with their parents for the rest of their lives. So they made us number 18, honestly, for being good, fun parents.
Are you a Jedi? I am.
So seeing where Luke is ranked is a pretty good indicator of this, but I don't really like Star Wars that much. I never really got into the Star Wars fandom. I understand that the movies are objectively very good, and he's probably one of the best all-time characters. I just don't like Star Wars. I never really have. I think Luke is funny at times and often wise and helpful, but not really enjoying the media he is in makes me have to put him pretty low on this list, unfortunately.
You're not for kids.
Stewie Griffin was always the funniest and most outlandish character to me while watching Family Guy. He's a big reason I go back to the show time and time again because I think he drives fun plots forward. Whether he's going back in time or traveling the entire country with my least favorite character, Brian, I'm always enjoying when he's on the screen, and he even makes me enjoy Brian more. Just having a genius British baby as one of your main characters really set Family Guy apart at the very beginning, and Stewie's just a great character and my favorite part of the show.
Where is he? Mr. Huff would like to talk to you in his office.
Mr. Incredible was always so cool to me as a kid. He had super strength, which was awesome to young me because I was a pretty strong kid. And now adult me gets to see the other perspective of him struggling to let go of his past and just working in a boring office insurance job. All he wants to do is be a hero again and help people, and that's just a great message that he really got across pretty flawlessly to me. And at the end of the day, he was just one of my favorite superheroes.
Who are you, George Costanza?
I'm the opposite of every guy you've ever met.
George Castanza is a great character. He was the perfect cynical guy who would do just about anything he needs to in life and in the corporate world to survive. He often does some of the most morally heinous things you could think about, not unlike the rest of the main four characters, but it's more entertaining when he does it. It truly was always so incredibly entertaining watching him fail and his schemes fail and him fail with women. He always gets what he deserves at the end of the day, and it's just always perfect, and it made me always like him as a character.
Oh, Mirabel didn't get one.
So I don't know why Dolores always stood out to me in the Madrigal family, but she was always my favorite member. She heard Bruno living in the walls for years, but never just told anyone. She was just super cool and didn't snitch. With her hearing, she probably knew every single one of their family's insecurities and secrets, but she never said a word about them. She was unproblematic and the best of the superpowered family, so she was my favorite.
Really? How'd it go?
I always thought Arthur Weasley was just so dang silly. Like, you have the magical world and magical items at your fingertips, but you want to make a flying car and know what we use rubber ducks for. He was just always a die-hard fighter for Harry and everything that is good, and he never backed down to Lucius. A lot of people really love Molly Weasley, and I do too for sure, but I think Arthur deserves some recognition and some time in the sun as well.
Heisenberg, you're goddamn right.
Walter White is truly a monster, but also one of the best written monsters I've ever seen in a show. If this was about the best written character, he would easily be in the top 5 for this list. He just perfectly shows the moral decay of a man who started out desperate and ended up just being pretty much pure evil. And it helps that he's played by Bryan Cranston, who is an amazing actor and will actually show up again later on this list. He's the only repeat. A big reason why this show is as amazing as it is just because Walter White and his character and his growth and his decay into evil. And that just shows how amazing he was as a character. Wolverine is probably a lot of people's favorite superhero, and for good reason. He's just always so dang cool. Whether it's him smoking a cigar and calling people bub, or him just going animalistic on people during a fight, Wolverine is easily the coolest member of the X-Men. I always loved the trope of the loner finding his family, and even though he was different, becoming just like an important member of that family. And he was always a great example of that. Wolverine is just the best and easily the coolest member of the X-Men. Shrek was always so dang funny. Like, why on earth did Mike Myers make the decision to make Shrek sound Scottish? And why did it work so well? Shrek was a staple in my household as a kid. Shrek 2 is my favorite of these movies, and if I'm being honest, one of my favorite animated movies ever. But Shrek's character in general was such a good lesson on not judging a book by its cover and to find real love rather than superficial love. I don't know, he's just a surprisingly good character who's very deep and layered, like onions.
Because losers look stuff up while the rest of us are carping all them DMs.
This may be a hot take, but I think Summer Smith is the best part of the Smith family. She is always sarcastic and funny and plays the perfect stereotypical teenage girl. When Rick really needs something done, like really needs it done, he goes to Summer, not Morty. Whenever she shows up in either the A or B plot, she always kills it, and makes the scene better than it was ever gonna be. I think Summer is so dang funny, and she deserves more screen time in the future on Rick and Morty.
You're a good son. I got him, honey!
And now we have the only repeat actor on this list. Hal from Malcolm in the Middle is the reason the show goes from good to one of the all-time best sitcoms in my opinion. He's unbelievably funny, serious at the weirdest times, and maybe the biggest simp on the planet. Like, why is he so outrageously silly? In the past, he's become a leader for a group of bodybuilders, gone to Vegas because he had a dream of winning it big, skipped out of work on Fridays for 10 plus years, and even gotten into a fight with a bunch of clowns. If you really want to know why I think Hal is so great, you just need to look up the rollerblading episode, and you'll get it because it is one of the best things I've ever seen.
That's my purse! I don't know you!
Bobby Hill may be one of the funniest 3 characters on this list. He is such an incredible foil to his tough Texas dad. He is artistic and funny and even a cheerleader at some point in the show. I often think about him and the purse scene, which I put on this video, or him just making Hank so sad that he isn't the traditional boy playing football and loving propane. But at the end of the day, Bobby is a fun character and super funny and relatable. He is the heart of the show, and he's the reason I like to go back and rewatch it. Batman is probably the best known character on this list, and for good reason. He is one of the more complex and interesting characters out there. He has been around for almost 100 years at this point, and he's been played by many different actors, all, for the most part, very well. He's a genius, badass superhero that is almost always the underdog, but still manages to win every fight in the end. He's often seen as a symbol of hope and justice, and he's probably the most beloved superhero in the world, if I were to guess. Batman is truly one of the greatest characters and one of my personal favorites.
Wicked.
Oh, wicked.
Now, Randy might just be the funniest character on this list. Everything he says and does is just absolutely insane. He has given himself testicular cancer just to get weed. He's caused the coronavirus by having relations with 2 separate animals. And he even once bought a Blockbuster because he thought it was a good investment. Randy has always been my favorite part of South Park. He isn't technically a main character, but he's definitely the center stage whenever he's on screen. Somehow, he's the singer lord, and that's just amazing. Everything he says and does is just so memorable and so great for the show. I really think, especially in the more recent years, that Randy is the driving force for the show to keep going.
I hope I made it the way you like it.
I'm so excited that I get to talk about Uncle Iroh. I love this character, and I always have. He was so morally good, at least in the time we knew him in the show, and he was so funny and wise as well. Iroh just always knew exactly what to say and how to shape Zuko into eventually being a good man. Iroh really was a great character to show a different perspective on the Fire Nation and kind of humanize him in that way, and humanize the Fire Nation as a whole. Still, one of the greatest scenes I've ever seen to this day was Iroh mourning the death of his son. It brings me to tears genuinely every single time. If you really want to see grief in a cartoon, this is the episode, and that is the perfect scene. If you've never seen Avatar: The Last Airbender before, I recommend it even if it's just to see Iroh's character.
One word, and I hit you again.
I'm telling Mother.
When I was writing this list, I was thinking about this, and I have decided that I think Tyrion is the best written character I've ever seen in media. He is so complex and sad and just so interesting. He's also the funniest character whenever he's on the screen. He has the best dialogue whenever he's there, and he even is the most fun somehow. He's just always so good. Peter Dinklage didn't phone in a single red line on this show. And I love the journey he went on and the character arc he had. It's just amazing. Whenever he was on screen, he was the only person I was paying attention to, genuinely every single time. He was the biggest underdog and still ended up in such a great position of power. He was an easy choice for me when I was making this list and deciding who should be number 1. He is the biggest reason that I go back and watch Game of Thrones. Like, not literally, but Tyrion is king. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you enjoyed today's video. If you did, follow for more and maybe even leave a like. Also, comment below on which ones I got wrong and who you think should have been where. All that being said, have a fantastic day, and I will see you next time.